Welcome to the Accounting Technology Lab, sponsored by CPA Practice Advisor, with your hosts, Randy Johnston and Brian Tankersley.
Welcome to today's Technology Accounting Lab. We'd like to talk about another AI-based tax research tool called TaxGPT. Now, TaxGPT has a bit of a history. They are venture-backed. They're Silicon Valley with an office address in San Francisco. And they basically have received funding from Adobe and a few others to build this engine out. Looks like it's still a small company, but they have some rather interesting approaches that they're using. They say that they're an AI tax assistant for accounting and tax firms, and I think that to be true. So, Brian, what would our listeners need to know about their product? I know they have two specific offerings, Embed Tax GPT and the AI Tax Autopilot, but I think Embed is what we should talk about first.
Yeah. So Embed is really a tool that solves a lot of different workflows that you would have in an accounting firm or tax firm. It really is designed to go through and ingest all the information and then query it so you can get like a client summary and other things like that to gather information and again to integrate new clients into a workflow. It also has a bot that you can work with that'll actually do some lead qualification and provide some context aware answers to things. And again, it just will go through and kind of onboard folks into your firm and provide some real-time interaction with it. Interestingly, this particular, and I'm going to skip too far ahead, but in this product, it says it provides 100% AI-based, 24/7 AI-based tech support, which I thought was interesting, given that, again, it's kind of interesting to see tech support as the front line implemented so heavily there.
Mm-hmm. So how about the AI Tax Copilot feature here? Now, this also has some very interesting features in it. And, they basically claim that using this tool can save accounting professionals 5 hours a week, so an hour a day. That may be a little overstatement unless you're doing a lot of tax research, but what's in this Tax Copilot?
Well, it will actually go in and again, it's a generative AI tool, so you can feed documents and a situation into it, and then it will reply to things. So in particular, client email is something that this will do in here very well. It also can be used to respond to IRS notices, state and federal tax notices, like, the IRS CP 2000 notices, where they think you made an error on your return. And again, it will go through and do this research very, very quickly. So think of this as a very fast cut at information that you can then look at and vet and use your time then figuring out what the alternatives are and where some of the other places can go here. You can actually upload client documents securely into this and use this platform for client communication, audit checks, and secure document sharing. And again, they go through and they've actually got a writer tool that will actually write correspondence for you. And I think that's something that accounting professionals generally have struggled with. We're good at being right and communicating things well, but that's because we spend a whole lot of time on it, wordsmithing and getting everything right. And sometimes we just need to make some sausage and get something out there and get it done.
Yeah.
And maybe we start out with something that's not so great, and then we trim it down and make it into the perfect thing that we want to send out by starting out with something that is imperfect and maybe a little bit pulpy that comes out of an AI generated tool.
Yeah, so your point on this is actually kind of interesting, I think, because they claim to allow you to upload documents and manage those securely. But on this writing capability, the ability to write text memos or client email replies or IRS notice replies or producing social media content and so forth, they claim they've got all that in there. Now, I did not caution our listeners, like I often do, that this product is in early access. So, we will talk about the security and privacy policy here in a minute and the pricing in just a moment. But we do caution you, it's a relatively new tool, but the best we can tell, the back end data privacy policy is okay, but not as good as, let's say, competitor BlueJay from the best we can read. I think BlueJay's got one of the most simple privacy policies that's out there. This one's a little more convoluted, but what about the pricing on this doggone thing, Brian? Because
Well,
again, I'm not sure we've got something to exactly compare it to.
I'm not sure we're comparing apples to apples here, but um, we've got basically for TaxGPT, they're saying that they will provide access to U.S. federal, all states, territories, tax court rulings, Canadian sources, document uploads, IRS forms, tax memo and email composer, and client profiles. Um, and again, also real-time tax law updates and other pieces for basically $1,000 a year. They're comparing that to Thomson Reuters, Bloomberg Tax, and CCH Answer Connect, which they say are $4,455 a year, $8,200 a year, and $12,000 a year. Now, let's keep the main thing here, okay? If we're looking at this, if something is 12,000 a year or 8,000 a year or 1,000 a year, whatever it is, if it provides value and it is the right solution for my workflow, the pricing is almost irrelevant. Just because you think about your average, you think about a well-run professional service firm and you're billing about $200,000 per FTE. And so if I've got somebody that's doing this, whether it's 1,000 or 12,000, it's almost immaterial. And when I start looking at it at scale, it's even more immaterial. So as we're thinking about this, I want you to see that they provide a lot of things. It looks like they're relying on the AI for help here. And again, in particular, they're comparing to some of the other solutions. I'm not exactly sure that Thomson Reuters, Bloomberg, and CCH Answer Connect don't have the real-time tax law updates, but again, it's a sales competitive presentation, and I'm sure from some perspective that's accurate from their perspective. But
so knowing that, sorry, I cut you off there, Brian. You were going to say, but
go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So I wanted to cut us over to security for a moment because, one of the things that we have continued to be cognizant of is protecting client data. Now, the vendor claims that data security is their top priority and that they went through the process of what we would now call table stakes using industry standard protections, 256-bit encryption, secure data storage with SOC 1 and 2 reports that they have access controls.
But catch here, this is third-party hosted servers compliant with AICPA SOC levels 1 and 2. Okay.
Yep.
This is a SOC on the data center environment and not a SOC on their operations and their processing. Okay. And that's a key thing, I think, for our listeners to understand about SOC reports is that it's very easy for somebody to say they have a SOC 1 or a SOC 2, but it may just be that they're in a data center that has a SOC 1 or a SOC 2. And then they could be running completely amok in their operations, which I don't think these guys are under any circumstance. Okay. But I think it's important to differentiate between the SOC on the data center versus the SOC on the business operations and the organization's code and its services, because that's a very important differentiating point that some people miss. They say, oh, it says SOC 2 somewhere, so I'm going to just check the box. It's not that easy.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Brian, your point is exactly correct. Inherited SOCs are not a thing. A lot of vendors try to publish that on their websites as if they have one. And you do actually have to have the SOC performed on the product, not just the data center. So you're absolutely right on that point. And then, of course, they also go on to talk about incident response and disaster recovery. But I think those are just functions of the data centers that they live in, which are AWS and Azure. So okay, I kind of get that side of it. But, everything said and done, if the tool is $1,000 a year, and if the tool keeps your data private, and if the tool has authoritative response without hallucination, which, by the way, seems it may have in those areas. Again, when I compare it against, let's say, Blue Jay or Thomson Reuters Co-Counsel or Wolters Kluwer's product, you know, all of the big boys have to have some guarantee of standards here. I didn't really see a guarantee like that inside the offering, but we were aware that, we want you to leverage AI in your tax and CAS and audit practice. And we recognize that this is a tool that's getting some noise out there, even though it's a relatively small startup. So, other key things that you'd like our listeners to know today, Brian?
I think it's important to try new things out. And as accounting professionals, many times we are so focused on working in the business that we forget to work on the business. And AI is such a huge shift and a huge change for so many things in the way we deliver professional services, that I think you're going to need to try out some different services. And so I would encourage you to try out different ones, and again, see which of the generative AI tools meet your needs, and learn as much as you can, because it's like we're in front of a fallow field right now, and we don't know exactly what's going to grow when spring comes into AI, into the accounting profession. But we want you to have some experience with different things, so that you can start to understand and differentiate between the different products. Okay. Again, I don't think we're at the point yet where the offerings in AI are mature enough that we can say definitively, for this kind of firm, this is the best fit, and for that kind of firm, that's the best kind of fit. I think it's early days, and I think if you're looking to be a leading edge firm, you're going to need to try different engines, and different engines you may use for different tools, and this may be one of those engines.
Yeah, absolutely on that. And, I thought it was interesting, with the three founders, looks like, husband and wife and CPA involved, but they claim that their values are innovation, accountability, commitment, teamwork, ownership, and transparency. And, if they really are performing under the ethical standards of the profession, okay, we may have a tool that makes some sense here. Well, it is such a pleasure to have you along with us again today. We appreciate you listening in, and we'll talk to you again soon in another Technology Accounting Lab. Good day.
Thank you for sharing your time with us. We'll be back next Saturday with a new episode of the Technology Lab from CPA Practice Advisor. Have a great week.